Welcome to Quick Movie Recaps. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and subscribe. The movie begins with the scene of an accident, where a girl named Tessa and a boy is lying injured and unconscious on the road. Later, Tessa wakes up at a hospital and the doctor welcomes her back to life. Then the other doctor explains Tessa's health to her. In the next scene, we're taken 182 days back before the accident. Tessa wakes up in her room and sets up her camera before heading downstairs. Tessa lives with her foster parents, Vickie and Mel. When Vickie asks her to have breakfast, she goes out to take photos. Tessa is only passionate about photography and she takes her camera everywhere. While standing on a lighthouse, Tessa takes a photo of a stranger walking on the beach. Then Tessa goes to watch a film at a local movie theater. Just when the movie is about to start, a guy walks into the theater and sits far away from Tessa. When the movie begins, Tessa realizes that this is a French movie with no subtitles. Just then the guy comes and sits next to Tessa, offering to translate the dialogues for her as he understands French. After giving much thought, Tessa agrees. So, the guy translates the movie and whispers in Tessa's ears. After the movie ends, Tessa asks him how he can understand French. He tells her that he can speak French, Spanish and Italian because her father is a linguistics professor who made him learn all these languages at a young age. They walk out of the theater and the guy introduces himself to Tessa as Skylar. They bid each other goodbye without exchanging numbers. Tessa then goes inside theater to pick her up coat and finds Skylar's cap. She runs behind him to give it to him but fails to find him. In the next scene, Tessa sees Skylar in the dream. She wakes up and the doctor tells her that it is a visitation dream and a part of the grieving process. Then the doctor gives some belongings from the crash to Tessa and tells her about a patient who talks a lot about the afterlife and even writes books about it. At night, Tessa starts to cut her hair while crying. Then, someone knocks at the door. But she finds nobody outside. Just then Tessa receives a message on her broken phone and she hears Skylar's whispers. Next morning, she meets Doris, the patient who writes about afterlife. Doris tells Tessa that sometimes dead people call out to us in different ways. She tells her that she should reach back to Skylar if he's trying to reach you. We're taken back to the past, when Tessa's teacher tells her that she could get into one of the best designed schools. Later, a fellow requests Tessa to join them at a boat rowing competition as a photographer. When her friend Shannon encourages her, Tessa agrees. Next day, Shannon watches the boat rowing competition while Tessa takes photos. While clicking pictures, Tessa sees Skylar in a boat. Turns out that Skylar is a popular jock. After Skylar wins the competition, Tessa goes to meet him. Skylar gets excited and hugs Tessa. Soon Skylar's mother joins them and tells Tessa how Skylar kept talking about her all the time. Skylar asks Tessa to hang out with her. Soon, Tessa goes out with Skylar in his Jeep. He tells her that this was gifted to her mother by her grandfather when she was 18. While driving, he reveals that his parents live separately because of his dad's job in Oregon. Then, they both go to a restaurant which is recommended by Tessa. They both talk about photography and Tessa reveals that she discovered this place because of the Empyrean, a honeymooners resort in the 60s. Then Skylar asks Tessa to show her the Empyrean. They walk inside the abandoned resort. They explore the place and dance together. After having a fun time, they sit in a place and that's where they share their first kiss. Then Skylar takes Tessa home. They plan to spend summers together when Skylar is back in Avalon at her grandpa's house. Then they kiss before saying goodbye. In the next scene, we're back in present. Shannon comes to meet Tessa. Tessa talks about what happened that night in the hospital. She says that the phone company said that Skylar probably sent that photo before the accident. Then Tessa cries in the car and tells Shannon that she doesn't even remember the last thing she said to him before he died. Later, Tessa decides to give on photography and gets into a fight with Mel. Next morning, Tessa wakes up and notices lights flashing in her photo room. She uses her photo printer to make new photos and finds Skylar's presence there. Then, she goes to the hospital to find Doris. The nurse tells her that Doris went home but left a book for you. Tessa spends all her time reading and watching Doris's books and videos. Then, we shift back to past where Skylar and Tessa talk about everything, their lives, insecurities, views on love and life, and everything in between over the course of the summer. Tessa also gifts Skylar one of her photographs. One day, she goes out with Skylar to picnic. They go on boating together and that's when Skylar says I love you to Tessa. But Tessa is hesitant to say it back. This causes some noticeable tension between them. So, Tessa kisses Skylar in an effort to reassure him that she loves him too. This leads to them getting intimate for the first time. Later, they go to a photography exhibit where Tessa sees that one of her photographs, which she had gifted to Skylar, is up on display and for sale. She gets upset over it, which leads to a fight between the two of them. Skylar wants her to pursue her dream of going to design school so that they can be together when he goes to Brown. She tells him that he needs to stop trying to fix things like his parents' marriage or even her, which are beyond repair. Back in the present, Tessa tries to explain to Shannon that maybe Skylar is trying to reach her. But Shannon refuses to believe. During the exam, Tessa's pencil moves a bit on the desk. When she holds the pencil, a force makes her draw a map-like pattern on the paper. Suddenly, a song starts to play on all students' phones. That's when Shannon realizes that Tessa was right about Skylar. Both of them try different methods to connect with Skylar but fail. When Tessa returns home, her car GPS automatically calculates a distance. When Tessa sees it, she realizes it is the same map that Skylar made her draw on her exam paper. Tessa drives to the location and that's when she meets Doris. Doris tells her that Skylar wants to meet you. You can only meet him where you and him felt love the most. Then we're taken back in the past when Tessa and Skylar were to reconcile after their fight last time. But Tessa comes to know that Skylar could be moving to Oregon, and this brings back all of her insecurities. So, she breaks up with Skylar. In the present, Tessa goes to each place she went with Skylar to take pictures and find his presence. She meets Skylar at the Empyrean but they cannot touch each other. That's when a mirror breaks and falls on Tessa. Soon, Tessa is hospitalized again. At night, Tessa calls Shannon to take her to place where the accident happened. Soon, Shannon takes Tessa from the hospital. While they are on their way, we get a flashback when Shannon told Tessa to fight for her life as hard as she does for her art, which makes Tessa realize that she is running away from Skylar. And she goes to find him before he leaves the town, which is when their accident happened. When Tessa steps out the car, she falls down and Shannon starts to scream for help. Meanwhile, Tessa's soul leaves her body and sees what happened that night. She finally realized that she said "I love you" to Skylar before he died. That's when she meets Skylar's soul. He tells her that everything she sees right now would be like a dream. Then he takes her soul to Paris and then Tessa takes him somewhere and they kiss. Meanwhile, Tessa's body is taken to the hospital. She is with Skylar on the beach. Tessa kisses Skylar for the last time before she wakes up in the hospital where her Vickie and Mel welcomes her. Soon, Tessa recovers and reconcile with Vickie and Mel. In the last scene, she gives her interview for getting into the design school and giving a fresh start to her life. Do you think there is an in-between place before the afterlife? Tell us in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.